The Galactic Concorde had survived for over 30,000 cycles by following a single unbreakable truth. Faster than light travel must be slow. Every species learned this lesson early in their ascent to the stars, because space itself punished those who tried to rush through it. Warp lanes collapsed if pushed too hard, jump corridors destabilized if stressed too frequently, and hyperfolds shredded ships that dared exceed safe acceleration thresholds. Thus, the galaxy grew cautious, deliberate, and methodical, moving fleets and commerce at speeds that favored patience over ambition. When humanity first appeared on the Concorde's scanners, they were catalogued as another young species, barely crawling beyond their home star. They used crude fusion drives, inefficient reaction engines, and relied on fragile hulls that suggested they would either mature slowly or destroy themselves quickly. No one in the Concorde expected anything remarkable, because humans followed the same early patterns seen 1,000 times before. That assumption died the day Earth activated its first FTL prototype. The event registered as a spatial scream across 3 neighboring sectors, a violent ripple that made ancient navigators spill their luminescent inks in shock. Sensors reported a localized collapse of space-time, followed by a snapback so aggressive it cracked dormant hyperlanes. At first, the Concorde believed it was a weapon test or a stellar disaster, because no ship could survive that kind of distortion. Then the human vessel reappeared. It did not glide back into normal space like every other FTL craft, easing in gently through layered transitions. It slammed into reality, space buckling around it as if reality itself had been punched. The ship emerged intact, engines blazing, hull vibrating, but unbroken. The human ship had crossed 12 light-years in under 30 seconds. Emergency councils were called, observers panicked, and senior physicists accused the sensors of malfunction. FTL simply did not work that way, because the galaxy had already tried every method imaginable and learned the limits the hard way. The humans did not care about those limits. When questioned, Earth's representatives calmly explained that their drive did not ride space, bend space, or slip between space. Instead, it forced space to move out of the way. They called it inertial dominance translation, a name that made Concorde scientists physically recoil. Humans admitted they discovered the method by accident, while attempting to solve a military logistics problem on their own planet. They needed to move mass faster than existing physics allowed, so they kept adding power until physics surrendered. Several early test crews died, entire test facilities vanished, and a small region of space became permanently unstable. Humanity labeled the loss as acceptable and continued development. The Concorde was horrified, for every other species FTL research was guided by ethics councils, safety projections, and multi-generational risk analysis. For humans, it was guided by urgency, competition, and a willingness to break reality if it broke first. Within a single standard year, humanity refined the Doctor, stabilized the worst effects, and began producing civilian-rated versions. Their ships no longer whispered through space, they roared. Each translation left behind gravitational scars detectable months later. The galaxy was not ready for a species that treated faster-than-light travel like a blunt instrument, and humanity had only just begun to run. The Concorde's first official meeting with humanity was scheduled to take 6 cycles of careful approach. Human diplomats were expected to arrive slowly, easing into the system under escort, respecting navigational customs older than their species. Instead, they arrived in 8 seconds. One moment the Concorde assembly station floated peacefully above the gas giant. The next moment alarms screamed as 3 human vessels detonated into existence at point-blank range, space buckling violently around them. Defense grids activated ancient weapons locking on before anyone could stop them. Human ships responded by cutting engines instantly, transmitting surrender codes, and broadcasting frantic apologies. The humans explained that they had miscalculated deceleration timing. Their drive did not slow well. This explanation did nothing to calm the assembled species. The idea of a ship that struggled to stop was deeply unsettling. In a galaxy where stopping safely mattered more than arriving quickly, the human vessels were escorted to quarantine orbits, their hulls still glowing from residual space-time friction. Scientists observed with mounting disbelief as the ships vented heat not measured in temperature, but in distorted causality. During the first council session, humans spoke openly about their travel times. They considered a journey of 50 light-years to be routine. They referred to multi-sector trade routes as short hops. The Concorde tried to explain the dangers, the fragility of space-time, the reason hyperlanes were protected and regulated. The humans listened politely, then asked a single question. Why not reinforce space? The question caused silence. Space was not something reinforced. It was endured, respected, and navigated carefully. Human engineers, however, had already developed field stabilizers that brute-forced local reality into compliance. They described it as paving the road while driving at full speed. Within months, humans began offering transport services. Their ships could move goods faster than any established route. Ignoring hyperlane tolls entirely, entire economies shifted overnight, trade hubs became obsolete, and political influence flowed toward Earth. Pirates attempted to intercept human cargo vessels. None survived. Human ships did not maneuver in dogfights. They simply vanished and reappeared behind their targets. Engagements lasted less than a second. The Concorde realized too late that FTL was not just transportation to humanity. It was a weapon. It was armor. It was dominance. When a border dispute fled between two long-standing rival species, humanity offered mediation. They arrived before the first shots were fired, deploying peacekeepers faster than distress signals could propagate. War simply stopped being possible when humans could appear anywhere instantly. The galaxy had never faced a species that could outrun causality itself, and fear began spreading faster than human ships ever could. Fear eventually turned into resistance. A coalition of elder species decided humanity must be contained, restricted, or removed. They believed numbers and preparation would compensate for speed. They were wrong. The coalition fleet assembled in secret, massing thousands of warships in a fortified system protected by layered hyperlane interdiction. They expected to ambush the humans when they attempted to intervene. Humanity never entered the system. They translated directly into the heart of the formation. Every human ship appeared inside weapon range, overlapping shields flaring violently as space screamed. Coalition targeting systems failed instantly. Unable to track objects that had not traveled through space to arrive, human ships did not fire conventional weapons. They jumped repeatedly, micro-translating through enemy vessels. Each translation ripped hulls apart from the inside. Ships died without understanding how they were struck. The battle lasted 14 seconds. It took longer for the wreckage to settle than for the fleet to die. Human commanders later described the engagement as messy and inefficient. They blamed poor timing synchronization after the battle. Humanity transmitted a single message to the Concorde: FTL warfare is not something you want to learn the hard way. The message was not a threat. It was advice. The Concorde finally understood that humanity's greatest weapon was not aggression. It was momentum. They could not be blocked, slowed, or predicted. They existed wherever they decided to exist. Attempts to ban human FTL technology failed. No enforcement mechanism could reach Earth fast enough to matter. Sanctions were meaningless against a species that could relocate entire industries overnight. Humanity offered shared access to their drive technology under one condition: adopt human safety tolerances. Most species refused, because human tolerances were horrifying: acceptable crew loss percentages, acceptable space-time damage, acceptable risk of non-existence. To humans, these were engineering challenges, not moral barriers. Those who accepted gained unprecedented reach and power. Those who did not slowly fell behind. The galaxy began to reorganize itself around human movement patterns. Distances lost meaning, borders dissolved, and reaction time became the new currency of power. The galaxy had been shaped by slow stars and careful paths for millennia. Humanity reshaped it in a decade. Even humans paid a price for their madness. FTL scars accumulated around major human routes, creating regions of unstable physics. Some areas could never be used again, marked on maps as human burn zones. Human crews suffered temporal side effects, memories arriving out of order, conversations finishing before they began, aging discrepancies between crew members who experienced slightly different timelines. Humanity documented everything, studied the damage, and kept going. They believed progress demanded sacrifice, even if that sacrifice was reality itself. When asked why they refused to slow down, a human admiral answered simply, "Because if we stop, someone else will do it worse." The Concorde realized then that humanity was not reckless for the sake of speed. They were racing against potential futures, trying to reach every star before someone used the same power without restraint. Humanity became the galaxy's first responders, explorers, and final argument. Disasters were solved before they spread.